So every year I get the same question. I've applied to 20 plus districts and I've only heard crickets help. You're applying to so many districts, you feel like you're on a never-ending hamster wheel of trying to get hired, and you feel like you're doing everything, but nobody's answering you and nobody's calling you for interviews. And the interviews that you do go on, you get told the same thing that they're hiring somebody with more experience. If this is you, let's talk about it.
Hey, teacher bestie. My name's Helena, and I'm the creator of the Present Teacher Podcast. I'm a first year teacher coach, and in this podcast, you are going to learn everything from simple, actionable classroom management, social emotional learning, and teacher wellness strategies. You know that impact you want to make in the classroom? Well, we're going to make it happen here.
For those of you that are new to the channel, hi, my name's Helena, a coach for new and first year teachers, and here's a little bit about my story when it comes to the interview process. So when I graduated in 2018 with my master's in elementary education, everyone else was told to apply everywhere and take any job you can get and be grateful. So that's what a lot of my peers did. They ended up applying to as many districts as they could provide or apply to, and a lot of them applied to 10 plus districts hoping to get one. And when I received this feedback, it didn't really sit right with me. And so I decided to do something different, which was in theory a big gamble, but it had a huge payoff. And that was this: I only applied to 3 districts. Yes, I only applied to the 3 districts that I really wanted to work at. And of those 3, 2 of them called me back for interviews and demo lessons. I actually ended up flying out for those interview and demo lessons. And then both offered me the job during the interview. While I was hired by spring break of my master's program, a lot of my cohort was still looking for jobs and still applying to 10 plus districts looking for their first teaching position. So that's a little bit about my story. So now that we talked about my background in interviewing, let's talk about why this apply everywhere is so prevalent and how it's rooted in fear. So there's this big fear that as a new or first year teacher, you won't get hired and you're going to get overlooked by experience. And to be honest, while that may be the case for some, the only reason it is because that's just simply a lie and that's the mindset you're going in with. Being new isn't a weakness, it can actually be used as your strength. And districts will hire you because you are new. I mean, if you think about it, everything that we perceive as a weakness has an equal strength to it. A great example is maybe you're a new teacher and you're worried you're going to get overlooked for someone with more experience. Districts are looking for a long-term investment, whereas if they hire somebody who's more towards the end of their career, they may not be in the district long term. So they might want to invest in you as opposed to an experienced teacher. On the flip side, if you're an experienced teacher and you keep telling yourself that, oh, they're going to hire someone younger, maybe they have a really young team and they're looking for somebody that has more experience that can help guide and mentor and show the way and come in with more experience and more skills than what their staff currently has and to kind of round it out. So here's the truth. Districts will hire you because you are new, not because you are, they won't hire you because you are not new. And you don't have to be desperate in order to get a job. You can apply out of alignment like I did and pick the main ones that you want to focus on and go from there. So now that we talked about that, this whole apply everywhere is just a huge rooted in fear that we are told from my experience, even in college. Here is, let's talk about more applications does not mean more job offers. So typically we think of this as a numbers game. If you apply to a mass amount of districts, that means that you're going to get a ton of offers, right? Well, that's not true. This actually can dilute your personality and make you sound like everyone else when you are just desperately reaching out for any district to hire you. If I were to create a generic cover letter, a generic resume, a generic application with the same buzzwords that I've heard is trending this year, I'm gonna sound like a lot of the other teachers. Whereas if I do my research and I've narrowed it down to my top districts and I know I'm gonna be a good fit in them, I can demonstrate that more clearly by customizing my cover letter and resume to fit that district and to articulate why I would be a good fit and we have the same morals and values. There's a difference from desperation versus applying out of alignment. So when you do this, you dilute your personality to sound like everyone else. And when you sound like everyone else, you sound like no one. You're not going to stand out from all the other teacher candidates who are doing the same thing. You're going to blend in. And this is the time that you don't want to do that. Districts don't feel like you're aligned with them. You're just reaching out for a job. As someone who's been on several interview committees, I can tell which teachers are just doing a generic cover letter and resume and searching for any job versus the ones that really do their homework and really do the research on what this district or school stands for and really emphasize that throughout the interview process. And instead, tailor your resume and interview to highlight why you two are in alignment instead of talking about the generic buzzwords that society has decided or culture has decided that is trending this year and why you two are more aligned than other candidates. And we're going to talk more about this in the coming weeks on how to do that. But instead of sending a mass email, for example, to a bunch of people that it's not going to resonate with, I send emails and I create content specifically for you, for teachers who are typically just starting the career, whether they're a first-time teacher or this is their first career or their second. When I speak to you, it sounds like I'm speaking directly to you because I've narrowed down who I'm talking to. Whereas if I were to just jump on and give generic interview advice, it wouldn't resonate as well because I wouldn't specifically be talking to teachers. So it's the same concept. The next thing let's talk about is alignment over desperation. So now that we've talked about all that, let's take action. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to figure out what your dream job, dream school, dream district would it feel like to work for. So what does it feel like walking in the mornings and showing up every day? Are you greeted by the principal or the supporting staff or the admin? Is everyone quiet and keep to themselves? Do you have a strong team? Are you the only person in your team? Make a dream list of what a dream school or district would feel like. What would you see? What would they be doing? What makes them stand out from other districts? Make a list and don't hold back. Nobody's gonna judge you for your dream list of a school or a district. After you've done that, if no one could be mad at you or judge you, what would your dream district or school look like? And then only apply to those that are aligned, not fake aligned. By this, I mean once you've come up with your aligned district, take some time to actually research the schools that you're applying to and figure out are these aligned with my dream list or are they very far aligned and I'm gonna have to fake alignment to get hired here? If that's the case, then don't apply there. Only apply to the districts that are really resonate with you and have the same values as you. Districts can tell the difference if you are just sending generic interview applications and emails and cover letters out versus if you have thoroughly done your research and actually figured out what that school and district stands for, and you also have the same values. This is what we're going to be doing in this week's challenge. On social media, we're doing an aligned and get hired 30-day challenge. So make sure to tune in wherever you're hearing that from to social media to watch part 1s through part 7 of this week's challenge. Okay, that wraps up why you should stop applying to 30 plus teaching districts or teaching positions. Here's a quick recap. So to start off this week's content, we talked about my story, my personal story with interviewing, and then we talked about that applying everywhere is just rooted in fear. It's just something that we are told that scares us into applying to the masses. But by doing so, when we apply to the masses, we sound like everyone, which means like we sound like no one. And then we also talked about alignment over desperation, taking time to come up with your dream list of what a dream district looks like and applying there, and not just applying for the sake of trying to get a job. Here are your next steps if you want to take this conversation further. First thing, I would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe wherever you're tuning in from. Feel free to send me a message on social media that you tuned into this week's content and what you thought about it. Also, if you want more tips on interviewing, make sure to check out my free teacher interview guide. It's got my top 10 tips on working smarter, not harder, and getting hired out of alignment. What I like about it is it links to my top 10 podcasts and YouTube videos all in one spot. I have a ton of content now, so this really narrows down to those top 10 most viewed content that are really going to help you stand out during your next interview. If you want to take it a step further and you want help personalizing your cover letter and resume to really reflect the research you're doing on a district, make sure to check out my teacher interview bundle. It has over 10 resume and cover letter matching templates. It has a demo lesson template bonus. It even has thank you and follow-up emails done for you. So all you have to do is plug and play, which I really, really love. If you want to take it a step further and you're done applying out of fear and you're ready to start applying out of alignment, make sure to check out Land Your Dream Job. That is my experience to everything from researching the right districts, how to figure out the right districts to apply for, what to say, how to show up during the interview with confidence, all the way to what to do after an interview so you can be even stronger and stand out even more during your next interview, and how to seal the deal to make sure you get hired. So make sure to check that out. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, remember we are stronger together, and I will see you in the next one, Teacher Bestie. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. I hope that you were able to take away some value that will help you thrive inside and out of the classroom. It would mean the world to me if you could take 5 seconds right now and leave a review on this podcast. And if you found this podcast especially helpful, make sure to take a screenshot of this episode right now and tag me on your socials to let me know you're listening. As always, remember that we are stronger together with all the love in the world. Helena, aka the Present Teacher. See you next time, Teacher Bestie.